Hello, welcome to Should I Buy This Game featuring Tea Garden. My name is Christine, and in this video I'll give you an overview of how the game is played and then share a few things I may like or dislike about the game to help you decide if you want to add Tea Garden to your collection. This is the game Tea Garden, and this is the board. I'm just going to give you a brief little description of what everything is. The game takes place over 5 rounds, and we mark our rounds here. This here is where we're building our tea gardens and placing our pagodas. Here we have the university where we're going to move around each time we get to do a university action. Along the middle of the tea gardens is the river. We have a little boat that we're going to move along the river. Over here we have the Emperor's track we're going to hope to build up. We have Emperor's cards. And then these are our action cards that we'll be getting to add to our hands to get better little bonuses throughout the game. Then over here is our player board. And on it we have 6 pagodas to place out. I'll just put them down to make it easier to see. We also start with 2 green leaves. And the tea leaves are what we use as like money in the game, is the leaves we will be spending. You also start with a deck of cards. Everybody has the same cards with 1 or 2 action movements and the strength of the movement, as well as they either have the bonus of the river or different color tea kettles that we need for cards. There's also to get the cups, and there is one in here for the university. So we shuffle those up, and we start the game with 4 cards. So I'm just going to lay them out here. So up here, this is the strength we have. So we have 1, 1, 2, 1 to start. You get 3 turns during each round, and then if you have the tea leaves to spend, you can take a 4th turn. And so that's why it's important to get some action cards, because when you get a card, you'll be able to add those to your hand right away. So the first 2 things we want to do is either get an action card or put out a pagoda during this first round. And then depending what we have left will depend what we do with our 3rd turn. So these numbers here tell us the strength we need in our cards to put out these pagodas, and that is related to this. So for the first one, we would need a strength of 3, and so we could do something like this. And this would be a strength of 3. Now the 2 has nothing on it, so you want to put this card out first, because this tea kettle is going to relate to getting a card, which I'll show you in the next step. So say we decide we're going to use those 2 cards at a strength of 3. You know what I might actually do? I'm going to save that one, and I am going to do the university. So we have still the strength of 3, but we just have a different bonus here. So for putting at the pagoda, we come here, and you have the 1 space that's already on. Now I am able to place it anywhere besides, so I could put it here, 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 or here. We were making our way towards these higher numbers, because whatever the number is here, that is where your tea leaves will be going when you collect your tea leaves between the rounds. So you're also looking at the bonuses. This one gets you a +1 strength. This one would get me 3 extra tea leaves at level 1. And that one would get me a extra tea, like a wild teacup. I think at this point, I'm going to put it here because I want those 3 leaves at level 1 to possibly get me an additional turn. So I put my little pagoda here. I'll lay it down for you. And then I would get 3 leaves, and I would put them in basket 1 on my mat. And so I have those that I'll be able to spend. So now the next thing I mentioned was I wanted to get a card. So let's look down here. For 1 strength, I would need a blue teacup and 3 leaves at level 2, which I do not have. if you take this one, you also get to get rid of a card in your hand, so you won't be getting that same card again. This one is also for a strength of 1. Here is the 1, not there. For the strength of 1, it cost any color teapot, and 3 leaves at least level 1, which I just picked up. Or for a strength of 2, I could get this one. It needs a red teapot and 3 at 2. So I think really at this point, this is the only one I can get. It's a wild teapot. I need a strength of 1 and 3 leaves at level 1. So we come here and I have that blue teapot. I have these 3 leaves that I will now give back. And I can take this card into my hand. So it gives me 2 more strength to play. Now down here, all the cards will get moved down. And a new card will be shown. So now I have 3. I only have 2 leaves, so I won't at this point be able to get that bonus. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to use these 3. So I have a strength of 3. I can come back to the cards here and look. That one needed the leaves I don't have. That one needs 3. This one needs 2. It needs a blue teapot, and it gives me a strength of 2. So this could be another good card to get. So what I could do now, it's a strength of 3. Because I don't need that green teapot for getting the card, I can play this, strength of 3. It costs me my 2 leaves, and I will get this into my hand. And I'm just going to refresh the cards. And then this here is a cup. And what that relates to are these little tiles here. Now you can only take it from where you have a pagoda in the areas. So I might take this one because if I can get another blue one to match, I might be able to get an emperor token. So I would add that cup maybe up here to my collection. Now, because I don't have any leaves left, I can't do that extra 4th turn, but I get to keep this card in my hand. So now we would move into maintenance phase. So the first thing we want to do is we'll be moving our token to level 2. Then you manage the card display. So the bottom card will get put back in the bottom. Everything will move over. Then for your cards, the cards you played, you would put them onto a discard pile. You get to keep this card you have, and then you will deal yourself 4 new cards for the next round. Now you get to ripen tea leaves. I do not have any, but if you had green tea leaves, they would move down, and if you had fermented them and turned them into the brown, you would move them up, but I don't have any. And then we harvest our tea leaves. And so I have a pagoda at 2 and a pagoda at 3, which means I get 2 leaves at number 2 and 2 leaves at number 3. And then it would be time to start the next round. Now, of course, you're playing with other people and you'd be taking your turns one at a time. You wouldn't just do them in the row, but I'm just trying to show you some actions you can take. So we turn over our new cards to see what we have. So this is the only card with a bonus, and we have teapots. And so let's come back down here and see what we need. So now that we need 3 at level 2, I can use my level 3. If you have leaves that are higher, you can use them. So I could potentially get this card. However, I do not have a red teapot, so I can't get that one. I have a green teapot, so I could get this card. That's a wild, but I don't have that leaf. I do have these, and I do have 2 teapots. And I do have that, and I do have this. So those are some things to keep in mind. So if I wanted a card, I could start at a level 1 card with a green. So maybe I will do that. So I have this card here. It's worth 1, and I'd be able to get this. So to trade in the leaves, I would trade in 2 3s and a 2, and then I would add this to my hand. Now maybe I wanted to get another card, but I'm running out of leaves. The other thing I could do is I could use this card I just picked up, or actually I'll use this one because it's a power of 2. Now I'm going to use it to harvest leaves, and what that means is we come back to where we have our pagodas, and I can get 2 leaves. I will get 1 at 3 and 1 at 2, and you can choose if you had more where you want it. So now I have extra leaves, which is always helpful. But maybe I also want to, it had the university symbol. So now we get to go to the university. So here it allows me to get 3 leaves at level 2, or I could ferment 2 leaves, and that's turning them upside down. I think right now I am in dire need of some more leaves, so I'm going to get the 3 leaves at level 2. So now you can see how you can start adding up those leaves. We need to get another pagoda out though. So do I want to do that right away, or do I want another card? I think I will do it right away. And so I can do this. And that will give me, I need a power of 4. So you would just pile up your cards until you have the strength you need. I need a 4. It adds up to 4, which means I can put this out. I think maybe what I'll do is I will put it here. It's touching. And this allows me to get another card into my hand. I put it out and I get to do the university again. And so here, I might choose now to ferment 2 leaves, because you'll see what will happen. I can ferment 2 leaves, which means turning them over, which is great. So I did that, and now, because I fermented those, I now have these that I can trade in, the 2 green and 1 brown leaf. And I could take that 4th action. And by round 2, you really want to be trying to figure out how to take this 4th action. So I'm now down to 3 leaves. So I'm just sort of looking. So I could get this card. It's at a 1. So I will put that card there. Yes, I do have the red teapot. So that's important. I do have the red teapot. So I can take this card. It is 3 leaves. It doesn't matter if they're brown or green. It costs me 3 leaves. And I get to add that to my hand. Now, because I took it from this first position, I can now get rid of a card in my hand. So I might want to get rid of this one because I have another red teapot already. So this card will no longer be part of my hand, and it will make it easier for some of these better cards to come and reappear. So the other action I get to do is the boat, and that's moving here, and it gives me 1 leaf at level 2 to add into my little board. And I have done the boat action. And then again, we would do the maintenance. So this time, because I have a leaf here, it would come down. And when it's time to harvest, I now have a pagoda at 2, 3, and 4. So I would put 2 leaves at 2, 2 leaves at 3, and 2 leaves at 4. Now the one action I didn't show you is fermenting. So say you wanted one of these leaves to be changed. Instead of using this 1 to get a card, I can use 1 to ferment a leaf, and then you would just turn it over. So however many numbers you have, that's how many leaves you could turn over to make them brown. And that's another way that you can get this action here. Now the other thing I just want to show you is if we come over here, we have this, these cards here. And as long as you have 1 leaf to trade in and then the power you use, this is how you can get these cards. So say if I was to buy this one, say here I had used the power of 2 and I spent a leaf, then what I'd be able to do is take a card from my deck and decide, oh, I'm going to keep or get rid of one of the other ones from my hand. And then I would get 3 points and I would get an Emperor's token. Now once you, and then you would just put this aside just in your play area. Once you have 2 tokens and a leaf from number 1, you can see here, you can trade those in to move up the Emperor's track. And the first time you move up, you get rid of a card from your hand, and then you're able to take an Emperor's card. And again, this would go directly into your hand. And at the bottom, they give you really good action movements. You can like trade out cards, you can ferment leaves. And then at the bottom, it's final game scoring. So if you have how many cards with cups, you get 3 points. How many leftover teacup scrolls, that are these, you get 2 points per scroll. This one gives you 4 points per, oh no, this is how many cards you have with teacups left in your hand. You get 2 points per card. And then this is how many scrolls you have. You get 4 points per scroll. And there are a bunch of different ones. Some just give you like 12 points. These are for those cards I just showed you. So how many of these cards you have? It's 3 points per card. How many pagodas you get out on the board. So there's some different ones. During the Emperor's track, you get the opportunity to get 3 cards. And if you make it all the way to the top, you get 10 points at the end of the game. During the university, if you, this was 2 turns. If you go 3 turns, you get an Emperor's token. 4th, you get a token. And then after that, you would place your person here, and then you would bring out a new person to keep making your way around. And every person you have here gets you 10 points. Here in the river, as you go each time, there's different bonuses. And then you start getting points depending how far along the river you get. Right to the end, you can get up to 25 points. And with these cards, what you do is if you get a card, if you get a match, you put a little token here. And then as a free turn, you get to trade in the token for either one of these rewards. Now, if you can get up to 7 matching, so 8 cards with 7 matching, you can get up to 24 points. And I think that is all the different actions and things that are going on in Tea Garden. So now I just want to share a few tips I've learned while playing the game. And the first thing is, in the first couple rounds, you really want to focus on getting your pagodas out, because that is what's going to get you leaves each turn. And the higher number you can get on the board, the higher number of leaves you can get. While at the same time, you want to focus on getting some action cards, because by getting these higher values points on the cards, as well as getting the different bonuses, it really helps push the game. And if you can start getting rid of a whole pile of cards, then you're only going to be getting these good cards every time you need cards. So the more cards you can get rid of, the better your hands are going to be with each turn. So I find the first couple rounds, if you really focus on those 2 actions, it will really help propel your game. The next thing is, when it comes to these secondary actions, you have like the university, the boat, and the cups, which was on this card here. Those are our secondary actions, they call it. I would try to focus on one. So if you wanted to go with the university, try when you're getting your action cards that you're picking up the cards with the university. Because as I showed you up here, it's only 4 turns and then you get 10 points. And in turn 3 and 4, you're getting those emperor tokens, which you really want to get those bonus cards and to get the 10 points. There's also this token here that you get through different things that allow you to do that secondary action twice. So you can come here and do it once and twice, and right there you've got your 2 emperor tokens. You probably have the leaf you need to move up, and again you can move up on the emperor's track. The emperor's track is considered a free movement or a free thing in the game. You can do at any point. So that would be the other thing, just really focusing. If the boat is what you're focusing on, there's a lot of places to get the tokens there as well as some high points. Or if you're doing the cups, because you really need about 8 of these to get the max points, because it's 7 connecting symbols, and then you would get 24 points. But if you're doing a bit of it all, you're not going to get anywhere very fast. We've learned that in our first game. So in the second and third games we played, we really tried to focus in on one. You might have another one, but that's how you will move along quicker to get higher point counts. Then as we move into the third and fourth, then we want to come and look at these caravan cards. I usually get them at the earlier ones if I need an extra action to take. But right now we have sort of the standard cards, but then we get into the dark blue cards, and here is where you can start to get more points. Here you get that ×2 action. If you use this many leaves, you get 4 points, 6 points, and the emperor token. There's ones here where if you use a 4 strength cards, you can use 2 leaves to get an emperor token and get an emperor token and 5 points. So right there within 1 card, you have your 2 tokens that you can get to move up the emperor's track. Oh, that's actually still the light blue ones. Let me get more of the dark blue ones. So here you're seeing in the dark blue, you're getting a lot more points. And at the end of the game, you're really looking to how can I get, right there is 12 points, which is a lot of points in 1 turn. And so you're really trying to find these cards to get the big points. So the caravan cards are another great thing, except I like to do them starting about maybe in round 3. In round 2, I'm focusing in on getting my action cards and all these pagodas out. Because as I mentioned, that's how you get the leaves, to get your cards, your action cards, to get your caravan cards. And then the actions of gaining extra leaves or fermenting leaves, I just use in an emergency. If I had no leaves but I still have another turn, then maybe I'll turn some leaves over to ferment. But the other actions are where I really try to focus in on. These cards here, your action cards, also get you points at the end of the game. The leaves don't give you any points unless you have an emperor card that says for each green leaf I'll give you a point. Otherwise, it's good to spend as many leaves as you can to really get the value out of them. And those are some of my tips I have for Tea Garden. Now there isn't a solo mode to this game, but I have an unofficial solo mode to this game. Basically during the game, the only real interaction you have with people is people taking these cards, be it the action cards, the emperor cards, or the caravan cards. The rest of the game, you are free to do your own thing. So what I have done is I played the game the way I sort of showed you, where I would just keep taking my turns. And then during the maintenance round, I would just remove 2 cards from here, an emperor's card and a caravan card out of my way, maybe 2 caravan cards, just to push the cards along. But by playing by yourself, it just allows you to spend that time to sort of really learn the game, and how, if you choose to do different things, how it affects your score and that. So even though there's not an official solo mode, I did play it solo so I could get a better understanding of how the game is played. So overall, we really enjoyed this game. And I like that it gives you enough space that you don't have to like fight for space in the different areas. Even though this has only 2 areas, you could go here, you could go here. So there's a lot of spaces for you to go and move around the board in terms of placing your pagodas. There's also a lot of cards. Depending on the player count, you put so many cards in these different numbers. And then so if you have more players, you put more cards into the pile. And I really like the three different secondary movements of the university, the cup, and the river, because you can focus in and really sort of try to get those bonuses, get the points as you go along. And then the last thing I really like is the strategy and the combos you can create, such as here I put out 4 to put out a pagoda. The pagoda gave me an extra card. It also gave me the opportunity to do the university action. By doing the university action, you could turn over some leaves, ferment them. Potentially, I could have got 1 or 2 of the emperor tokens, which allowed me to move up the emperor route to get an emperor card. And because I fermented some leaves, I could come back here, have the leaves to get the extra turn. So you're always trying to think, how can I get the most out of these turns? And so that also comes into getting those action cards that will really benefit you. So there's all these really interesting strategies that you can find throughout the game of what do I need to do that will get me the most points possible. And then the only dislike we could really come up with was, unless you have these emperor cards that give you points for your pagodas or get you points for your green leaves, it doesn't matter in the end of the game how many of these you have out. These don't give you any points. Those are just your strength you need to play them. And you can have a bunch of green leaves and you'll get no points. So unless you have those cards, you don't get any points. The benefit of the pagodas comes with the benefits you get throughout the game. So that's why if you have leaves here, keep spending them, because unless you have that specific card, they are worth nothing at the end of the game. But that's just a small thing in terms of the overall play of the game. So let me know if you have played Tea Garden and what you think of this game.